Thank you very much, Professor Gibson and Professor Breitweiser. Thank you. Professor Boone was my roommate in college, so, and then of course Mr. Adams, Dr. Choate, and Dr. Keller. I have all of you guys, so it's an honor to be here, and I'm so very thankful to be here. It's so much has changed, yet so much is the same. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat to come back all these years later. So I'm sure a lot of you have some sort of a story about when you realized you were an artist. And for me, that happened. It's funny how it happened when I was little, and then all over again much later when I had just this recollection of something that happened. When I was about 7 years old, I would tag along with my grandfather. He would go to watercolor classes at Centennial Park in Nashville. If you're from Nashville, you know where it is. If not, don't worry about it, but it's a big park in the middle of Nashville where they have all these monuments and things like that, and then there's a community center, and the instructor there, her name was Hazel King, and she saw me doing my art, whatever I was making, and she said, well, Brad, you're going to be an artist someday. And without any sort of pretense, without any sort of rudeness or anything, remember, I was just 7, I looked at her and I said, I am an artist. So fast forward some 25, 30 years later, I realized that I knew I was an artist all along. It wasn't something that I had to discover. It was something that was already in me. So in a few minutes, I'm going to share my artistic journey and what God has taught me through that journey, and how art can be a way to serve, I think, and glorify God and reflect Him. So, I've got another story. When I was 2 years old, and if you've seen my Instagram, you've probably already seen the story, but when I was 2 years old, my family figured out that I could not hear. I wear 2 hearing aids, and when we were at the audiologist's office, somebody gave me something to draw with and a piece of paper. And they just said, here, just, pass the time while we're waiting. And I was waiting to be fitted with my first hearing aids. And sitting in front of me on the little table, it was like one of those little, almost a coffee table in the waiting room, there was a little toy fish. And I decided to draw it. And my family was surprised that I didn't just draw the fish. I gave it some sort of a personality. There was some kind of an expression that I gave it. I want to be sure. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. I want to make sure I'm projecting well enough. So that's kind of when everybody realized I was an artist, and I got all kinds of encouragement from my family that, oh, well, Brad likes to draw. So but I feel like I became an artist almost by default, because not being able to hear, not being able to talk that young kind of forced me to find a way to communicate, and that was through pictures, that was through drawing. So in a lot of ways, art, it was my first language. It was my first way to communicate with the world and express myself. But early on, I started to learn. I remember taking classes in the summer, art classes. I tried painting, and I actually thought it was kind of dumb, but which is ironic. And then I remember taking comic book classes on how to draw the human body and stuff like that, and lay out pages and stuff like that. And then all through high school and on into college, learning has been a crucial part of everything I do. So I want to encourage you guys, don't stop learning here. Once you leave here, there are all kinds of opportunities to learn, whether it's online or signing up for something in the community or whatever. Books, find ways to keep learning, never stop learning. And then I've always had this sense that making art and creating is a significant aspect of being made in the image of God. You've probably heard the term Imago Dei, and that means made in the image of God. And seeing God as the creator, I've always felt like it's, and if I am made in the image of God, then it is my job to also create, just as the Creator made me and I'm made like Him. It's my job to keep creating too. That does not put me in the same place as Him, but I am a little seed creator, as it were. So creating is a fundamental part of just how I am made, and I'm sure many of you can relate to that as well. So the work itself here, I've got a couple of themes. I've always got a sense of light and dark, and while yes, that's important for composition, you want to have light and dark, but it's an important aspect of how it works. And there are a lot of storms. Some of these look really stormy. Some of them look kind of almost scary in a way. But these are important themes in my work that I feel like reflect spiritual realities on a profound level, because in life we move from chaos to peace, and then sometimes back into chaos, and sometimes it's a cycle. But we move from brokenness to restoration, and from mystery to faith. And again, sometimes we go back and forth. I mean, we see this played out time and again throughout the Bible, and how, especially in the case of the children of Israel, where they, we've all heard that cycle, going from sin to redemption, and then back to doing their own thing, and it's just a constant back and forth, which is how I work. A lot of these canvases, when I start, it's total chaos. And if you look at my Instagram, you'll see the work in progress videos where, like this, it may just be a total mess, and then things start to emerge, things start to form. And then on some of them, like this right here, there's a lot of all this stuff all over the canvas. And then you see some of the layers that are back underneath it. So, to that end, I want to honor the past and honor the messiness of life and how order can come out of chaos, but I think the chaos is okay. There's a way to live with it. You don't have to have everything perfect. It doesn't have to all be nice and neat and tight, because life isn't. And then thinking of mystery and faith, I don't think those are opposites. Those are part of the same thing. They are, there's so much that is unknown, but then faith being a hope for what is unseen, and understanding that the mystery, understanding that you may not have it all figured out, and being fine with that, and moving on into faith, growing from mystery to faith, and keeping that where it is, and upholding both of those at the same time. I'm reminded of the passage in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 7. Now we have this treasure in clay jars, so that extraordinary power may be from God and not from us. So I think as artists, as creatives, we're called to create, but we're not called to make it about us. We're called to make it about someone else. We're called to make it about something else. And it's really about where we can take people with it. And to that end, I see myself as a conduit for taking this concept and putting it on the canvas and putting it down. It's not about me. I just want to be a conduit for it. And a lot of times when I begin a painting, I will pray and just say, okay, show me what this painting needs to be. Show me what to make this. Sometimes the canvas wants to be something else. I really don't force anything on it. I may start with a really vague concept or just a loose idea of what it's going to be, and then work toward clarity through the process. So for me, a lot of times the creative process is a form of meditation or prayer. And recognizing that the so-called failures that emerge are part of growing and becoming more whole. The canvas becomes more whole just as I become more whole. And that's what sanctification really is. It is the process of becoming made whole. So the life as a working artist of faith, there is a tension in making art in a world that is in a commercial world that when we want to hold on to eternal values, there is a place for that, yes, but we all have to pay bills, we all have to make a living, but how do we do that without compromising what our values are? And that can be tough. I can tell you that can be hard. But it is a tension that we all share. But what I try to do when I approach a canvas is I slow down and meditate and quiet my brain and just try to get down to what I've heard. I have a friend who calls it Godspeed. And a few years ago, he did an experiment for over one summer. He got off all social media and he got off of everything. He did some brain scans and found what happened at the beginning and then what happened at the end. It just the scans were almost of two different people, and he realized that he spent several weeks at a monastery, and then several more weeks at with an Amish family. And he learned that when you slow down and you're not rushing everywhere, things happen. And that's where God began to speak to him. So thinking of Godspeed, which my friend Carlos says it's 3 miles an hour. That's how fast we walk. When you can slow down and stop rushing, and then when you zoom out, everything becomes now. Not that everything is urgent, but there is only now when you zoom way out. I know that's a bit kind of up here, kind of out in the more ethereal areas, but on a practical level, it is all about finding balance between your vocation and your family and paying bills and understanding God's provision for your calling. There have been many times where my family and I have been in a situation where we're like, we don't know what's going to happen next. I'm not going to get into specifics, but there have been plenty of times where we wondered, how are we going to pay the bills? How are we going to take care of the kids? What are we going to do about this thing, that thing? And it's that constant realization and the reminders that the provision is already there. We just have to take hold of it. One thing I've noticed, though, is your generation, I think, is a lot better at finding balance and establishing boundaries between work and life. I will say a lot of people my age tend to work all the time, and we have a hard time turning it off. So I do admire your generation for being able to say, you know what, here, I get off work here. I'm not going to stress over it, but and I do think that's a good thing. But interestingly enough, I think there is sometimes a lack of integration between all of those. You have to have division, you have to have healthy boundaries, but you also have to recognize that it's all part of the same thing. What you do at work, what you do at home, what you do when you're out with your friends. You want to be the same person. You don't want to change who you are. Sometimes you may behave differently at home, right, because you're more comfortable, but trying to find that balance so you don't get out of sync with who you are and what you're called to be. And so the first thing was appreciating that tension of making art in a crazy world, and then finding balance. And then the third thing is let faith sustain you. When you doubt yourself, when you are terrified of your future, because rejection and uncertainty are a fact of life. They are a fact of the creative journey. And then just with life in general, I can't tell you how many times I have found myself face down on the floor in prayer in really intense moments of doubt and insecurity. But that's where that faith in God's providence comes into play. And all that actually had nothing to do with art. It was about other stuff going on. And when I have wound up stuck, the biggest antidote to being stuck is to show up. A few years ago, I tried an online challenge called Art Everyday Month, and it happens in the month of November. If you're interested, you can look that up online, AEDM. And it's all about doing something every day for the month of November. The first time I did it, I thought I would be clever and kind of batch things and do like 5 or 6 days worth of art pieces at once. I would go around and take photos or do a bunch of sketches or something, and then I would post them every day. But and then at the end of it, I got about halfway through and then quit. Then the next year I tried it again, and I realized that the trick is to show up every day. And it doesn't mean you have to complete something every day. Some people do. I don't have that much bandwidth. I have a day job. I don't have time to do this every day. This happens over several sessions over a couple of weeks. And that secret to getting unstuck is to show up every day and do a little bit every day. It's just like going to the gym. You don't spend 8 hours a day or get up Saturday morning and spend 8 hours in the gym and then expect to see results, and then you hurt yourself and then you can't get back to the gym for 2 weeks. Has anybody done that? Anybody? That's good. But it's better to spend 15 minutes a day in the gym, and you feel like, man, 15 minutes, that's not much. But you will see better results. It'll be small, but you do see better results just over time, just showing up again and again. And that's how I got myself out of an 18-month slump. I found I had not made any art for a year and a half. Maybe even longer, but I realized I have got to do something. So I decided, okay, for this Art Every Day Month challenge, I'm going to try to do something different. Because before I had painted very realistic or kind of impressionistic urban scenes, and which is nothing like this, but here's why. Because I had gotten burned out trying to do that much detail and tried to do too much all at once, and had a creative injury and did not paint for about 18 months. So what I said was, for this Art Every Day Month, I'm going to try abstracts in acrylic, just to try to find something new. And that was 10 years ago, maybe further back, and I realized I liked it. I realized I liked watching the paint drip. I liked making it about the paint rather than trying to show a particular thing, a facade of a building or a skyline or something like that. I made it about the paint. Interestingly enough, the way the technique evolved, I think it winds up looking a lot more like the concrete on the buildings that I was painting. So the way concrete stains and drips, and how it winds up actually looking kind of like this. A lot less colorful, but there's a lot of that concrete texture happening here. So I have 3 pieces of advice for art students, architecture and design students. Number 1, understand that faithfulness is more important than success. I feel like I touched on this a little while ago, but we are, a lot of times we feel pulled into cranking stuff out, turning, and being busy, when what God calls us to do is to be faithful and to be humble. He does not call us to be successful. He calls us to be faithful. I think of the passage from Micah 6, verse 8. It says, "Mankind, he has told each of you what is good and what the Lord requires of you, to act justly, to love faithfulness, and to walk humbly with your God." So we're, that's a tough thing to do sometimes. Faith is a hope for something that we can't see now. And because we can't see it, that makes it hard. But I feel like the journey is a reward in itself. The second thing is be a good steward of your gift. I think of the parable of the talents in Matthew 25, where Jesus talks about the 3 servants who their master gave them talents to invest, and 2 of them got a bunch. One got 10, one got 5, and the other one got 1. And the one who got just 1, he was embarrassed and took it and hid it, he buried it. The other 2 took their talents and invested it, they grew it. And what's not important is the amount of talent or how much talent that they had. What's important is that they did something with it. that they invested and grew it. And then the one who hid it, covered it up, he got fired from what he was doing. And so we are called to invest and grow our talents. So find a way to practice and show up and grow your talent. Try something new. Share your talent not just with showing people your art, but teach somebody else how to do it. Let it be a way to inform other people and to build people up, or to encourage people to take action on something. The third thing is integrate your faith and avoid compartmentalizing your life so that, oh, this is my art life and this is this other part of my life. Because all of that should inform everything else. Your faith should inform your art. And I believe your art should inform your faith. Because it certainly does for me. For me, all of this art is an act of faith. This is all a meditation and a prayer and a reflection on what is and what can be. Because everything here is connected. You are an individual, but you're connected to the person next to you. The same God that made you, made the person next to you, made the person in the next room, made the people on the other side of the planet, and everything in it, not just people, but everything. Because I am awed and humbled that the same God that made me also made you, and also made everything here, and we are all made of the same stuff. We're all part of the same thing. Everything is connected to everything else. So that faith should be integrated into everything else that we do. The practical implication of all this is to be consistent by showing up every day, even when you don't feel like it. A few years ago, I injured my back and had to start doing physical therapy for it. And I had learned the hard way that if I do not do stretches every morning when I get up, the exact same stretches, the same order, if I don't do that every morning, I will throw out my back again. It's only a matter of time. It might not be this week, it might be next month, but I will hurt myself again. And I don't like doing it. I'm like, I'm in a hurry. I don't want to spend 10, 15 minutes doing this. But I do it anyway because I need to set that consistency. Likewise with showing up in your art every day. If you're consistent, you will see improvement. And the world needs it. The world needs your consistency. The world needs you to show up. The world does not need you to hide your talent or hide your light. But in all of that, remain curious and humble. I think you cannot truly be curious if you are not humble. If you don't say, if you don't admit, there are things I don't know. How can I find out? What do I not know about? What can I learn about? I think arrogant people have no curiosity. They think they know everything already. So there is so much to be gained from humility. I see too many Christians right now being quick to judge everybody else on, I disagree with this or that, but our job is to love out of humility, not out of judgment or out of arrogance, but to love. So to close out, I want to recap that I told you a little bit about my creative journey and how I got started on it, from a huge loss I had from losing my hearing when I was born, to finding that voice, to finding a creative outlet, a way to communicate with the world, and then realizing years later that I knew it all along. I had it from the beginning, and to find a new voice in the process of showing up every day and operating from a place of awe and humility. So the last thing I want to leave you with before we open up to questions is another scripture, Matthew chapter 5, verse 16. It says, "Let your light shine before others so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father in heaven." So what I take from that is being light, and not to shining on myself, but to show other people the way, and you can see that, especially this right here. This is all about light, finding light in what is otherwise dark. So that is my talk. If anybody has any questions, I would love to hear them now.